and we will be bringing you coverage of the Michigan State basketball team for this upcoming season. So a little bit about ourselves. I'll have Johnny introduce himself first.
Yeah, so I'm a senior at MSU, studying sports journalism. I am from New Jersey, so it's a long trek to here to MSU, but I love it out here. MSU is the best, but I love college basketball. I've loved college basketball my whole life, and I'm just super excited to talk college basketball.
Yeah, very similar. I'm also a sports journalism student here at Michigan State, also a senior. I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan, so a little bit closer. Uh, Grew up a Michigan State fan. I've been watching Spartan hoops my entire life. Love college basketball, love everything about it. So yeah, with that, I think we'll just get right ahead and go into our season preview. So coming into this season, Michigan State is the number four ranked team in the AP poll. Highest ranking in a few years. We haven't had a season with this much preseason expectations, maybe since 2016, coming off the Final Four year, and Denzel Valentine's senior year. But we've got a lot of returning key pieces, incoming pieces. Johnny, what are you most excited about for this season?
Yeah, I mean the expectations are at an all-time high. In Izzo entering his 29th season. You could argue that this could be one of the more talented teams he's had. You return Tyson Walker, AJ Hogard, Malik Hall, Jaden Akins, but then being able to add a top freshman class really puts the expectations at an all-time high.
Yeah, I know that the buzz in East Lansing has been immense. There's all the talk of the town. Football hasn't been going great, so Spartan fans are ready for this basketball season, and we are excited to go. So diving into a little bit of last year's team, they um, finished in the Sweet 16, lost to Kansas State in the overtime game. Um, it was a little bit of a hit or miss regular season, very on and off. It seemed like they couldn't ever really figure it out. But like you said, with Walker coming back, he led the team in scoring last year, just about 15 points per game. Hogard coming back, he had 13 a game. And then other guys like Akins, Malik Hall, Mahdi. Yeah, it's a really exciting group, and there's definitely an expectation for them to go deep this year.
Yeah, I think when you look at the team, Tyson Walker is the name that jumps out the most. I think he's been getting the most national recognition. He's been named, him and Hogard were named first team preseason, Big Ten. And Tyson Walker has been named to a couple different, throughout the media, the second team All-American. And I think that speaks very highly of him. And, I think it'll be him down the stretch. We've all seen it from last year. He's kind of the guy that takes over at the end of the games. And I think the team is balanced, but at the end of the day, Tyson Walker will be the reason if they were to lift the national title.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. This backcourt is truly something special. And I've always been someone that's believed that it's backcourts when it comes down to March. You may have a Zach Edey or an Oscar Sheboy win National Player of the Year, but when it comes down to it in March, it comes down to that guard play and what can your backcourt do. And the matchup or the combination of Walker and Hogard and Akins and then Holloman off the bench and Fears coming in as a freshman, the depth and the overall skill in that backcourt is just out of this world. It's one of the best backcourts in the country. So very excited for that. In terms of the freshmen we have coming in, so I mentioned Jeremy Fears, the point guard, and he was one of the five stars, him along with Xavier Booker, the five-star power forward center from Indianapolis. And then they're also joined by the all amazing and exciting Cohen Carr, who's already become a fan favorite, and Garrick Normand, the forward from Texas, forward guard. I think he's more of a combo, does it all a little bit, but um, yeah, it's definitely exciting. Who do you have your eyes on for these freshmen, Johnny? Who are you looking at really?
Yeah, I mean, Cohen Carr has already taken over social media with his dunks from Midnight Madness and then his dunks against Tennessee. So, obviously for him, he'll be in a national spotlight every time he touches the court due to always being able to produce a top 10 play. But for me, Jeremy Fears is the one that I really have my eye on. I just see it's something special with him, kind of an it factor. Izzo's talked about it before, kind of comparing him to Mateen Cleaves was his leadership quality. And I think you're going to see that throughout the year. He might not, when you have Hogard and Walker leading the team, his minutes, it won't be a lot of minutes, but when he's in that game, his leadership, his for him to be able to get up 94 feet, giving 110% every play, I think he'll become a fan favorite very quickly for the Spartan fans, and I'm really excited to see him this year.
Yeah, Fears is definitely really interesting. He a big time recruit. He's from Chicago, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Big time recruit, and he's just gonna have to wait in the wings a little bit this year with the guys that we have. But he's definitely got my eye. Personally, I really am looking forward to seeing Xavier Booker in the green and white. I think he brings an element that the Spartans didn't have last year, that little bit of length shooting, um, big guy that can stretch the floor and really make you like he's such a good defender. He's got crazy long arms and he's so athletic. He looks like a gazelle out there when he's running. Um, so I hope that Booker is a guy that can find minutes. I don't know if it'll be early in the year. I think Izzo is usually a coach that seems to like to play his veterans early on and then kind of get his freshmen going slowly along. Um, so I'm excited to see Xavier Booker when his time comes, and I think he's going to add something very important for this year's squad.
Yeah, I mean, Booker, highly rated 5-star, ranked in top 10 in multiple, rankings. And, as expected, it might take him some growing spurts, to really figure out his game at the college level. But I think that's what really makes the Spartans dangerous coming March is when you got guys like Booker, Carr, and Fears, along with the other guys, who've already been there, and they get that experience. I think that'll take them to the next level.
Yeah, it's that depth. It's out of this world, honestly. It's hard for me to describe other than it's just insane how much they have at every position, back court, front court. So yeah, we can jump into the Tennessee game. So this past Sunday, the Spartans hosted Tennessee, who's number 9 preseason, for an exhibition match that they donated the proceeds to the Maui Foundation to help repair or help rebuild stuff in Maui from those fires that were terrible. Um, and the Spartans lost 89 to 88. It was a great game. They kind of got off to a bad start. We're down 15-1. And then from that moment on, they kind of they dominated the rest of the game almost, you could say. I mean, Tennessee, they fought back. Tennessee would kind of take this lead again, get it back out to 10. And the Spartans just never really gave up fighting. They Hogard hit the 3 with a second to go to tie it before Holloman committed the foul, giving Tennessee the free throw for the win. But who impressed you the most in the Tennessee game?
Oh man, that's tough. I think someone who's going to be an interesting player for the Spartans here is Carson Cooper. I think he's already been a fan favorite when you hear in the crowd every time he steps on the court or makes a play, the whole crowd is chanting Coop. But
Cool.
I think it'll be interesting to develop him. And the center position I think is the most interesting position to watch with Mady Sissoko. I mean, he's in his senior year. But I think what you're getting from Mady. He's giving his all, but he never really had much of an offensive output. Where I think Carson Cooper has a little more upside in that part, and so if he can keep developing, and obviously we'll talk about Jackson Kohler as the year goes on, but with him being out right now, it's kind of a two-headed, center position. So
Yep.
I think he showed some develop throughout the game so far, and I'm really looking forward to him the rest of the year.
Yeah, what's interesting with Carson Cooper also is he was later in the recruiting process. He was when he kind of caught some steam. He went on to IMG. I think it was a little late and wasn't on their like top prep team or however it works at IMG. And he came into state a little later and or like in throughout the process, but he has really come along since he got here. I feel like from what I've seen, I feel like he, especially this last year to this year, um, only from the Tennessee game, he was definitely putting out a good offensive output, like you said that we need from that position and weren't getting the last 2 years. Um, a big takeaway that I had from the game was he may be a social media highlight reel, but Cohen Carr is also just a playmaker offensively and defensively. He plays so hard. He's so gifted athletically. Um, I feel like he's just such a problem and a mismatch for so many teams. Um, he really caught my eye, and it's hard for you to not get your eye caught by 55 soaring through the air. Um, what were your thoughts on Cohen Carr in game one in the exhibition?
Yeah, I mean, he takes your breath away with his dunks, but what I think is going to be really interesting this year is when he's playing alongside Tyson Walker and Hogard. You saw a couple alley-oops where you got Tyson, he's in the lane, and for him to be able to lob it up to him from those backdoor cuts, I think we're going to see that all year long. But just in terms of athleticism, being able to have that on both sides of the ball will be so important, and will be so important to be able to give guys rest. Like when you could bring in Fears, Holloman, and Carr, and you're not really going to get as much of a down, like in drop in performance, and get Hogard and Walker those rest. That's going to be really important throughout the year into March.
Yeah, definitely. Um, One of the other things that I noticed from the game was just the overall like improvement of shooting. I know last year we're not a poorly 3-point shooting team. I think Akins, Hauser, and Walker all finished above 40% from three. Um, but I mean Walker, his ability at the end of the game, his shot making ability in crunch time is off the charts. And Akins, who I mentioned earlier, was solid. He did his thing, finding he's always Akins has always been someone that's interested me. I feel like through his first few years here, he's kind of struggled to find exactly what his role is the way I've been able to see it. I feel like this team has been dominated by, Walker and Hogard, and rightfully so. But Akins brings this dynamic athleticism and this slashing ability from the wing, but also Izzo has talked about this offseason that he expects Akins to be a much better shooter this season and really contribute from behind the arc. Um, I don't know. I'm curious what you thought about Akins from game one.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at Akins, someone's got to step up this year and kind of replace Joey Hauser in terms of scoring, right? You know, Joey Hauser, when he took that open three, you knew that thing was going down, and I think that's going to be hard to replicate early in the year. But I think they'll be able to get pieces together from the other guys. But I think there's an opening to kind of be the second scorer on this team, and I expect and I hope Akins kind of steps into that role because his talent is there. Yeah, as you said, for him to be able to slash, but also he has a great mid range, and if he can shoot the three at a consistent level, I think he's in for a huge year.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting game, or definitely an exciting like the game was exciting. It definitely just fueled the fire for Spartan fans. Um, I had a little bit of a notice. Like I know he had the foul at the end of the game that gave him the free throw, but I was very impressed with Trey Holloman. He's another one of those guys that is could play a huge role off the bench later in the year or throughout Big Ten play, especially in big games whenever. Whenever I feel like we may need someone, I think Trey Holloman could be a guy who could step up. He's now a junior. He's in his third year. Um, and let me pull up his stat line real quick. I can't find it on the website. Whatever. But yeah, Trey I thought looked great. He looked a lot more confident to me in his offensive game, and that's just another piece to that for this team, that another toy for them to play with, for Izzo to work with.
Yeah, and I think you saw kind of last year wasn't as confident in his shooting ability, so I think it was kind of hard to get him extended minutes on the court. But right away in the first exhibition game versus Hillsdale, first chance he gets, steps into a three and knocks it down. And I think that's kind of telling of how hard he worked in the offseason to develop his shooting. And if he can just, you're not asking for much, but for to come off the bench and be solid and to be able to shoot the three at a consistent level, right? Because he's already going to give you so much on the defensive side of the ball, right? For him and Fears and Carr, right? These guys are so athletic. They'll be able to get up and guard 94 feet and cause chaos for the other team. And for them to be able to shoot the three consistently, we're just not asking for too much, he'll be a huge part of this team.
I definitely agree. I think that his shooting is where he could really make a difference, and also his playmaking. I would love. Trey Holloman's a guy I'm excited for this season. I'm very excited to see the steps that he takes and how he can help out. So looking ahead, season tips off next Monday. The Spartans will host James Madison at 8:30 on November 6th, followed by their second game Thursday, another home game where they'll take on Southern Indiana. So next week, first two games. What are you thinking in general?
Yeah, I mean, you want to see the guys come out and be confident right away, kind of, show they belong. Right? If you're number 4 team in the country, you're expected to take care of these games. By no means are they easy games. I mean, Monday night, James Madison, a very good team. Preseason predicted to finish first in the Sun Belt. So, that's, you're considering a team to be NCAA tournament possibility. So they better come out and be ready to play. But in terms of just style, I mean, just go out there and do what they do. Expect Tyson Walker to take control and just Hogarth to run the offense and go from there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I want to see these guys take care of business, kind of like you said, do their thing. That's no disrespect to James Madison or Southern Indiana, but again, number 4 team in the country, you got to go out and prove it. And then after those two games, we've got the non-conference game of the year, I'll call it. My favorite game of the year as a Michigan State fan, the Champions Classic, and we're playing Duke this year. So number 2 Duke, number 4 Michigan State in Chicago. We'll probably do more of a deep dive on that next week in our episode recapping the first two games, but looking forward, it's a little hard for us to not look ahead a little bit to that Duke spot in the Champions Classic.
Yeah, I mean, you'll expect a lot of fireworks that game. All eyes on the TVN in Chicago. When you have a guy like Filipowski coming back and Roach and be able to add some freshmen like McCain, they're one of the best teams in the country for a reason. And, it should be a fun one. And just like last year in the Champions Classic versus Kentucky, that was a thriller.
Mm-hmm.
And I expect the same this year.
If you remember that game last year, we had a little bit of an unexpected hero in Mady Sissoko, who I think played maybe his best game at Michigan State in that Champions Classic. So you never know who will step up. It's still early in the year. It's a big time game, and it's a spot for players to step up in a big game. And that just sounds like Tyson Walker to me. I mean, that guy you say big game in front of him and he jumps at it. But yeah, I think that is all I have. Do you have anything more for today, Johnny?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I think we covered the preseason, covered what we're going to look at next week after the games. And, I'm just super excited to dive into this year and really look at Spartan hoops and just be ready for the year.
Yeah, this episode was definitely on the shorter side of things. We're trying to get comfortable, I guess, and kind of get this feel, but we're both very excited to be here and very excited to be covering Spartan basketball. So yeah, I think with that, we are going to say goodbye for the day, and we will see you guys next week. Thanks for listening. Also, shout out. Follow us on Twitter. I got just made the Twitter. Follow us at Unscripted Pod 68. And then if you want to follow me personally, follow me at Jake_Myers0. And Johnny, what's your Twitter again?
Mine is just Johnny Noone 23. And we'll put our Twitters in the Unscripted Twitter, so you'll be able to find them.
Yeah, so go find us, go follow us on Twitter.